With Draymond Green though, this is another one that's been going around. He didn't get offered a max. They didn't offer to extend him on the max contract.
What a surprise.
Am I the only one that's like weirded out by that?
No, yeah, I don't. I appreciate Draymond. First got into the NBA, and I was like, oh, how shit's this guy? And then, but I have realized over time how valuable he is. That you cannot sign a guy that's averaging 7 points a game to a max contract,
I don't know. He does more than 7
especially when you
points
have to
though.
re-sign Poole and Wiggins.
He averages 8.5 assists per game. His defense is insane. Like, did he not finish top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year this year? His defense is not only cracked, he's also didn't he make the All-Star team as well?
Yeah, I think he might have.
Yeah, so you're going to tell me that an All-Star isn't worth a max contract?
I think he could be worth a max to somebody else, but I don't think he's like I would. If I had to choose between keeping Draymond over Wiggins or Poole, I'd pick Draymond, but not over both of them.
Mm.
And Wiggins especially is really valuable. I think he was really good, especially while Draymond was struggling. He was really good defensively and providing a second scoring option. So
That's facts. But in saying that though, they did let Gary Payton go, because if they extended all these guys to, like, let's just say they did the 9 million for Gary Payton, they did the 6 million or so for Otto Porter Jr., right? Could have been like 7 million. And a couple of the other players that did their contracts, this and that, right? They're looking at like $16 million to $20 million right there. And that's straight up, like, now that they've let all those players go, they've let their young core come back in and all that type of stuff. I feel like that should give them at least some flexibility to somewhat be able to still re-sign Jordan Poole to the big contract that they want him to, and also keep Andrew Wiggins. Because the fact of the matter is Andrew Wiggins is worth a max, right? He's worth a max. And people think, oh, a max contract, that's just the same as what he's on right now. The max contract has heavily changed. The max contract is not 30 million a year anymore. I'm pretty sure it's 36 or 37. Like, it drastically went up.
Pay when he was on 18 mil, and now it looks like a steal.
Yep. And now he'll go on to that big $35 million probably per year contract. Jordan Poole will probably go on like a 28 million or so, which I still think is quite outrageous. I don't know if Jordan Poole is still worth that. It is what it is. But then
I'm not a Jordan Poole fan.
Neither am I. Nah. But Draymond Green is still a way better player than what Jordan Poole is. Way better player. And I'm still, if Jordan Poole's getting 25 to 28 million, whatever those rumors were, screw that, bro. Just give Draymond 30 million a year. That's what I think. Like, if it's going to be one of those maxes where it's 37 million a year, then maybe it's, but if we're talking about the old-timey max where it's like 31 million a year, that Kevin Love contract, remember from a couple years back, then I'm doing that if I'm the Warriors. I think that's legit. Like, I just feel like you can't let him leave. And the Warriors were a 10 times better team when Draymond was playing. And when Draymond was injured, those 10 or so games, whatever it was, they struggled at times. And the team who I think he will go to if he was to leave Golden State would be the Portland Trail Blazers. I've been saying this for a while.
Yeah, because Dame wants him.
Dame has been hinting at this for the end of time. And, I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense. He would be, imagine Dame and Draymond together. Like, if Draymond does exactly what he's done with Steph over the years, you know, setting all those screens, being the main ball handler, while Dame kind of plays like the 2 on offense, then Jesus Christ, that Portland team would be pretty insane. Like, you got, you know, Draymond playmaking to Nurkic, Damian Lillard, Simons, you know, all those type of players. I just think that would be a really, really good thing to see. And Jeremy Grant, not enough people remember Jeremy Grant is on that team right now.
Jeremy Grant.
I know Portland had a bad off season. They had a really bad off season, in fact. But if they can next season bring in Draymond Green and keep building this supporting cast, they're going to be pretty decent team.
I think for any team looking to pay that amount of money for Draymond Green, you have to be absolutely sure of the offensive players that you have around him. Like, it's cool enough to say, oh yeah, you can put him with Damian Lillard, but who's your secondary scorer there? Do you think Anthony Simons is going to step up? Because to be honest, as good as Jeremy Green is, and as much as I love him as a player, and he's just not good enough to be a second option on a championship caliber team. Third option, yeah, but you'd have to have a lot of trust in Anthony Simons, or you could package him with maybe Shaden Sharp and whatever other draft picks you have and try and get a bona fide second offensive star.
The idea with this Portland team right now seems to be going to want to go really small ball because, I mean, Jusuf Nurkic, let's face the facts, he's going to play half the year and the other half of the year is going to be spent in the hospital. I think we can all agree with that. And then other than that, do you know who their backup center is? Do you want to have a guess who the Portland Trailblazers backup center is?
Jesus, CJ Ellaby, even though he's like a shooting guard.
No, that's not it. Have another guess, mate.
Greg Brown.
No, me! Because I've got no backup center! I'm their backup center! Their backup center is me or Damian Lillard next season, and I'm calling it right now.
5'9" backup center in the NBA.
Yes. Either that or they're calling up Eric Bledsoe, who they waived just to play center, because that boy is dummy thick, and he might be able to play that center position. But the realistic thing is, they could actually do some type of small ball thing, which would be kind of interesting. Like, you could have Dame at the point, you know, Simons at the 2, Sharp at the 3, Grant at the 4, and then at the 5, you'd have, you know, of course, the main man himself, who they would then go on and sign in Draymond Green. But how that would work, obviously you couldn't start it. I think Jeremy Grant would move to the small forward and they'd start Nurkic. But when those games that Nurkic is injured and all that type of stuff, I think it would run fine. And they're theoretically one of the only teams I could see Draymond Green going to. I don't see the Miami Heat or any of those teams making sense. I don't see a team like Memphis or New Orleans, any of those young and upcoming teams that could be looking to offer someone a max soon. It doesn't make any sense for him to go there. To me, it's Golden State or I think Portland at this point. And if I was him, I would look at Portland because you could take a pay cut because you know the situation would be good in Golden State, but there could be a lot going on in Portland right now. I just think they had a pretty rough off season, but there's definitely still building blocks there for them to try and make the play in this season and make a playoff run, and then of course build heavy, I think, till next season. Am I wrong for saying that? Or
no, I can't think of another team that would be in a better position. Just like I said, you'd have to be hoping that Simons turns into that second offensive option, or you'd be making another trade. But if you're taking on Draymond, you have to have a lot of the things that Portland have, like the superstar offensive talent and the shooting, which is what they actually do have. And he would obviously help their defense and playmaking situations. So I can't think of another team that's more well set up, obviously, other than the Warriors. But I can't think of another one.
Does he leave the Warriors, or do you see this getting done and he gets signed on the max? Because it seems like he made it pretty clear that he won't settle for anything less than a max. He doesn't even want to take a pay cut.
I think Golden State might eventually cave in unless there's no other interest from other teams. But like you said, the fact that Lillard has said that he wants to play with him openly probably means that Portland would get pressured into giving him an overpay, which means that Golden State would have to cave in. So
yep.
I think it'll get done.
So let's just say this happened, because let's be honest here, they're probably not going to be able to get a deal done just from signing him, right? Like, he's on way too much money. It's probably just not going to work. What would the trade, therefore, look like for you? Because if I'm looking at the salary cap right now, for Portland, they have Grant on 20 million, Hart on 12 million, Lillard on 40. Nurkic, I think's on like 20 million now, something ridiculous like that. And Simons is on like 20 million now as well. What does a trade look like for this, like, to actually happen? Because I don't see anything on that roster that immediately jumps out at the Golden State Warriors. Josh Hart would be
Nah,
cool.
not at all.
You know, he would be awesome. Jeremy Grant would be an awesome one for them as well. But worst case scenario is for this Trailblazers team is that Jeremy Grant leaves in the offseason. That would be the really bad one. And that's how I know Jeremy Grant is getting a max, I reckon. Like, I literally think Jeremy
Oh, I
Grant
don't
is
know
getting
about
the
a
max.
max.
No, just because he's gonna threaten to go.
True. If Portland lost him, that'd be pretty disastrous to trying to keep Damian Lillard.
Yeah. So he's on 20 million
know
right
if they
now.
should have kept him in the first place.
Yeah. So he's on 20 million right now. It was said that his original asking price from Detroit was 25 million because he actually liked it in Detroit. And then it was said as soon as he got to Portland, he was like looking for that max, which maybe he liked it more in Detroit. I don't know. I don't know how that worked, but shit, he wants the max now. I guess you could always say you'd lose him. He might just walk out, and I guess that has a lot of money open for Portland to probably offer, you know, Draymond Green a max contract or something like that. But that's my theory. Is I think Draymond Green gets to Portland if Golden State can't re-sign him, which I think they'll, as you said, they'll eventually cave in. I think we kind of know that, but.